kind of dogs do you have?
Um, I'll just call them bulldogs. They go by many different folk tales and names. You know what I mean?
Like Old English?
White English,
Okay,
but I don't even
interesting.
know if that's a thing. You know what I mean?
Um, yeah, I mean it's an interesting subject. I mean, I know there's a lot of mythology around surrounding dogs, but
Especially bulldogs. But
yeah, I don't
I
know.
I
Yeah.
started in Galapagos like 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the whole CRK ARF bullshit. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
I know that there's been yeah, division, but I'm not like overly familiar.
Oh, basically, the story goes with any Galapagos. It started with white English or white bulldogs of the South crossed with Catahoula leopard dogs, and then that's why you got Merle. And then
Hmm.
later on, everybody else threw what they wanted in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like any other breed. And then denied it, and then years later comes across that that's what they did. You know what I mean? So I ended
It,
up just finding some guys in Georgia that had these white dogs that resembled the original, like Lana Lulaine type of bulldog. You know what I mean? And
oh,
somewhat, but of course, they added something along the line too, just because with all the line breeding and inbreeding, the dogs got smaller and kind of went to shit. So they ended up adding whether it be a D Bordeaux or some type of red American bulldog, because now the dogs have red patches. They're not just solid white dogs. And then with the white dogs breeding them, you ran into a lot of pigment issues. You know what I mean?
right. That's always the fear with straight white dogs.
Yeah. So
I
and basically my buddy went down and bought these dogs from this guy who lived in a fucking, typical story. Guy lived in the trailer, 5, 6 generations. Family always had the dogs, blah 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 type of thing. You know what I mean?
right.
But I can honestly say they're probably the most stable dogs I've ever had. Just like I tell people, they're like no instructions needed, just fresh out the box. The dog will do what it needs to do. You know what I mean?
Interesting. I really like the way some of them look, but uh, have you been around American bulldogs before? Like, I just want to know if there's like if you have like if you noticed anything straight
Um,
up front different.
Not the stat. Well, the one thing I can say is they move the white English that I have. They're bigger, heavier bones. They're
Uh
not the
huh.
real narrow dogs. You know what I mean? But they don't move like bulldogs. They move like standard dogs. They can move. They move like all. I call them like they're all wheel drive. They're not just where their front end goes and their rear end has to catch up type of bulldog. You know what I mean?
Right.
They can move. They can run circles. I'm sure they can catch. I mean, I live in the city in California. I have no purpose for catching. You know what I mean? But
What county in California?
Fresno County.
Oh, okay. So you're up, yeah, up there in Central Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
So
from Oregon originally. I live in the Midwest now. So
okay, yeah.
yeah.
Um, but the thing with the Galapagos was the whole Ray Coleman thing, which I don't know if you've come across his name before.
Oh yeah.
The story goes with the white English, like basically Lana Luz had basically just accidental breeding, crossed the leopard with the white, and guess what? You have a bulldog with a fancy coat, and that's kind of the thing that goes on now. You know what I mean? It's still going on 40 years later. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I knew I had got out of Galapagos when the old English registries allowed Merle. Once I seen that, I knew it was over. You know what I'm saying? Once all the old English registries allowed Merle, the Galapagos was going to be done. And if you've been around any Galapagos,
Yeah.
they're a lot more drivier than any old English or American bulldog. Very, I mean, they'll bite anything.
Right.
They're very drivey, especially the CRK ones. The CRK dogs, I don't know what Ray put in them years ago, but I mean, drivey like a terrier, but they'll bite people like a mastiff. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're
What was the controversy with the split and all of that?
um from what I was told, Ray, and there's evidence. I think there's a company or a kennel that was called White Pines Kennel that had these white English back in the day, and they have photos of Ray Coleman down there doing breedings.
Uh-huh.
So Ray pretty much said like, I don't have any of their dogs in my line, but I mean, he's a salesman, you know what I mean?
R- right.
But Lana had a hand kennel by the name of Marker Ray Nichols. Have you heard of Marker Ray?
No.
So Marker Ray he's a dog trainer.
Uh-huh.
So like he can train. He has videos online too of like puppies in the whelping box, and they're listening to him. Like he opens the gate and he tells them to stay, and they stay. Like this dude could probably train monkeys. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
like that real famous American bulldog Nico back in the day. It was really well trained. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Same thing. Marker Ray is like he's the dog whisperer, and he has some dogs. He had some white English, and then Ray ended up buying whole litters off of him and added them into his dogs. And then Ray added American Bulldog, and Ray added oldie Bulldogs. Whatever he found, he added into the mix, and that thus you have it's called the ABBA style Alapaha, which Ray owns the Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog Association.
Okay.
So that's his style, the bullier stuff. And actually, if you have the old VHSs, Ray would send videos of American Bulldogs to people and tell them that it was an Alapaha. So like, I mean, I know you talked to Joey Rita. Joey Rita had, God damn it, what's that American Bulldog's name? I can't. Crunch, Rita's Crunch.
Uh-huh.
That was in old magazines for CRK style Alapaha as an Alapaha, and and Ray just gave it a different name.
Right.
And so there was a lot of Rita's Crunch in a lot of these early Alapahas. And
Okay.
then there was a dog named Willie Diesel, which is probably the most famous Alapaha that was, I want to say, was bred by Joey Rita.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know how often you talk to Joey, but one of his good friends, his name is Paul Papalaro. He was there from back in the day. I ended up hooking up with him like 10 years ago, and he was sending me pictures of dogs that he bred and he sent to Ray that Ray said he bred and whelped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was also dogs that he said were sterile, but Ray wanted to own the dog, and Ray supposedly had litters off the dog, but the dog was sterile. But he just wanted to use the face of the dog, like, oh, this is the dad, this is the sire, you know what I mean?
Right.
And my friend Paul was like, that's bullshit. That dog, I've bred that dog 30 times and had to go get his sperm count. Like the dog was couldn't have puppies, you know what I mean? So, but I made a lot of good friends in the Alapaha breed, you know what I mean?
Right.
That I still talk to today. The one person I would think you need to interview, I don't know if you ever heard of him. His name is Thomas Lindgren.
Yeah, he's out of the UK.
No, Thomas Lindgren's in Arkansas.
Okay. Then for whatever yeah, I just there's so many names. I thought he was out of the UK for some
No,
reason.
he's sent many dogs over the pond already.
Okay.
But what he's doing is he has his CRK type of Galapagos,
Uh-huh.
and he also has some early Marker Ray Nichols bulldogs, which had like web crossed to God knows what. But I mean, very serious look, like I mean, let's just say when you see a Marker Ray bulldog, you can tell it's a Marker Ray bulldog. It's like has a distinctive look, like when you see like one of those oldies from Gina, you know that, oh, that's from her kennel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he has and what he's doing is he's crossing the old marker stuff with some white English I provided him with his current Galapagos, and I mean they're coming out fantastic. Because with these bulldogs, you keep bringing up the same line, you're gonna end up with shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't care what anybody says, you're gonna have to send an outcross. As much as everybody lies and says they don't, you have to. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And yeah, that's probably an interesting guy. I want to say it's under Lindgren Galapagos or Ancient Molosser. I don't remember what his kennel name is, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's out of Arkansas. Let me just put it to you this way: when he has litters, he goes through the alphabet, A through Z. He's like on his fourth time through the alphabet. Yeah, he's got some great looking dogs. Like I said, he's sent them all over the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's probably the people because people will still call me. Like they'll find my phone number and my email. Like, hey, I'm looking for this, and I'm like, dude, I'm like out of it. Like, but if you want one, like this is who you got to contact.
Right.
This is the only person I would refer anybody to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, So yeah, if you have a chance, reach out to him about setting up an interview because I mean he's just a wealth of knowledge. He's had a lot of dogs before in the past. You know what I mean? Yeah, I want to say he. I mean, he started like everybody in the '80s and '90s. He had game dogs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, and then went on to like larger like mastiffs and presses type of stuff. You know what I mean? And then
Okay.
got into the bulldogs. But he there probably more ain't more pictures on. I know he had some like neos too that he did some crosses way like 20, 30 years ago probably. You know what I mean?
Neo Alapa crosses or
No, like neo game dog. You know, game bred put gold
oh
by massive. You know what I mean?
oh boy, that's scary.
Like those early band dog stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
But no, he's I've been to his yard many times. You know what I'm saying? I can call him right now. Be like, hey, I want a puppy, and he'll be like, pick one. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's originally out from he lives out in the desert, and that's another thing. This dude raised bulldogs in the desert. It's 120 out there, and they're surviving. You know what I mean?
right.
He's not a as I say like a fur mom where they come inside when it gets 90. Like it's sink or swim type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're going to have a working bulldog, you're gonna have to do that kind of stuff.
Type of thing where nature takes its course. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
That's I mean it's not a popular thing nowadays, but that's just the way it was and it should be. Like I'm the type of dude when I had a litter, if a mom didn't feed a pup, then I'm not feeding it. She knows better than I do. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but if a
no,
mom constantly, if I put a pup on a tit and she picks it up and takes it to the other side of the whelping box, guess what? That motherfucker ain't surviving because she knows something's up. You know what I
I appreciate that opinion. Of course, I'm the kind of guy that wouldn't be able to do that,
mean? Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to discount what you're saying at all.
Man, I haven't been on. I'm on his website right now. I haven't been here in a long time. These are some old dogs, like the female Apache and Babylon. So you could tell if you go to his female section on
Uh
his
huh.
website,
Uh huh.
like that. If you go all the way to the bottom, there's a dog named Apache, Lindgren's Apache. Like that is a prototypical ABBA style Alapaha, just short, wide, no muzzle. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can see the influence from other breeds in there. You know what I mean? Um, Compared to like his other female grizzly, which is more like the original style, and brindle, which is a dying color in bulldogs. Brindle, you don't see that shit no more. I can't remember the last time I saw brindle bulldogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I like Brundle a lot.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's if you see a brindle bulldog, you know these people have been doing it for a while. You know what I mean?
Maybe
But
just
like if you see there's a male on his sign called Olaf, Lindgren's Olaf, that's type of the white English more in there
yep,
than anything, you know what I mean. You can tell.
big and thick.
Yeah, and some people say like Dick the Bruiser, Johnson's Dick the Bruiser was a white English. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh,
And what's kind of the supposed history of the White English?
I've even heard they came on the Mayflower. You know what I'm saying? Those type of stories for people to
Yeah.
sell movies. Basically a white bulldog, the original bulldog from England that came over here in the South. I mean, I've heard people, even that guy Paul Popolaro I was telling you about, Joey Rita's friend. Like he remembers going down to from Connecticut down to Florida to visit his grandma, and everybody having these little white bulldogs. You know what I mean? That they just called bulldogs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even on the movie Forrest Gump, remember that the Jenny, she lived with her aunt. She had a white English out in her front yard. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
They're just white bulldogs that people, from what I was told, them. I mean, the way that they preached it to me was Alan Scott had white English and he crossed game dogs. That's why his dogs are smaller. John D. Johnson had a white English and decided to cross Saint Bernard and English Bulldog. You know what I mean? Yeah. And in
Yeah.
some of Johnson's dogs, you could see the Saint Bernard in it. You know what I mean? Um, but they both started with the same formula, and that was my thing when I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the original dog, which started it, which was the white English. You know what I mean? Everybody started with that. These bulldog people and this animated stuff. So, but like I said, I've had the dogs for a while, and I've had litters, but I won't sell them because as stubborn as I am, I'm like I don't think people deserve them. You know what I mean? If that sounds any like I won't take no amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, why should like my buddy Filipino dude drove through these backwoods and you know what I mean, trailer parks to find these dogs and find these families of dogs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when he first off, he said he offered the guy $1,000 for a male, and the guy was like, "Oh no, I couldn't charge you that. Give me 200." Like old school people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people exploited them too. Other people found them and exploited them and sold them for $5,000, $6,000. You know what I mean? Um, so, but there was a family of people that had been raising them for the last 40 years, and they just, from what I was told, the guy that also had these dogs, he was like a big squirrel hunter, and he was like, "Oh, I don't need these bulldogs no more. I hunt squirrels, and I want these little coons to catch my squirrels now." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't have dogs. He had dogs for purpose, basically. Like his dogs needed to do a job, so
Right.
they didn't serve a purpose no more. You know what I mean?
Right. You didn't
But
have.
I tell people, like, out the box, you want a dog that's just gonna look good and act right and know how to act, and like that old type of mastiff, like where it sits around the porch, lazy, doesn't leave the yard. Does You don't need an electric fence. It won't leave your property. You know what I mean? Hates leashes. These dogs hate leashes. Like they go berserk if you put a leash on their neck. But you can walk down the street with them and they don't leave your side. You know what I mean?
Really.
Yeah, it won't chase shit. Like, and I mean, sometimes they come out with rear dew claws, so God knows what they have in them too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Interesting.
could have some livestock in them. Not to take, I'm not going to compare them to like CAOs and stuff like that because those dogs are on a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just worried that, I mean, like any dog's going to get ruined with people that get them. Like I think the Malinois will be gone in 15 years and will be a watered down German Shepherd because the way I see people walking with them in town, I'm like, what do you do? Nothing. Like, what do you need 3 miles for? Like, you got 3 loaded weapons, bro. Like, you have no idea what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a.
you, like, it's, I think for me, the Malinois breeders should be more like, hey, who are we selling these dogs to and why do they need them? Because how normal households don't need those dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My. Yeah. No. I get it. You're trying to fulfill a market, but because I'm a pro business kind of guy, but there's a limit to that. So I
So that's
I
why I think that livestock's going to go end up like that because, I mean, there's a purpose for them. You know what I mean? But at what point does humans, I mean, because us humans, we mess everything up. You know what I mean? Yeah, I wouldn't say there is. I wouldn't. I mean, the flock guardians still have more, but I'm saying like general all around, like lays at by your feet like a mastiff would. You know what I mean? Doesn't leave
yeah.
the front yard. Won't chase a cat. Won't chase a kid riding a bike. Like when I had a Lapahas, like I went to court twice, bro, because my Lapahas tore people up.
Yeah.
Like this dude jumped in my backyard, 38 stitches in his calf, and the dude tried to sue me for $2 million. And in California, he almost won.
Yeah. Of course he did.
Even though I filed the police report. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
the dude jumped over my fence, like at 2 in the morning. He got lit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To
Well.
where I had to get rid of the dog for doing this job. So once even that too was like, okay, I can't have these type of dogs in California. You know what I mean?
No, you can't.
California is a different world. You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, but I like your page. I watch a lot of your videos when I go to the gym in the morning.
I appreciate that.
I watched the Gina one and I watched the Joey Rita one a few times. The Shorty Bulls. I almost got into Shorty Bulls like 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
What
So I've
stopped
watched.
you?
I actually had one,
Uh huh.
and it just croaked on me and it crushed my kid. I actually, so this
Uh,
guy Paul, the guy I was telling you about, Paul Popolaro, he's real good friends with I can't think of her name now. The lady that created it, the
Jamie
Shorty.
Sweet.
Yeah, because they're all out there like Connecticut, Boston. They're all around there, that area. You know what I mean?
Uh huh.
Uh, and he actually has some dogs that I was going to be able to register that Jamie was because she knows his livestock and the dog was beautiful, dude. It looked more English bulldog than anything. But it had the frame of a game dog,
Uh
but it
huh.
had the head of a bulldog. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
I love it.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was perfect. It was the
Old school
perfect
shorty
dog.
bull. Yeah.
Yes, I mean old school, old school. I'll have to send you some pictures of him one day. I'll have to get your information. But
Yeah.
he was just a fucking tank, dude. He could move, he could run, he could jump. Big ass head. I mean, just and for a week he wouldn't come out of the house. Like I'd have to drag him. I knew something was wrong, and I'm like, okay. And he almost died on me once, and I brought him back to life, like feeding him different stuff. And I honestly think my neighbor poisoned him. If I'm gonna be real, I think my neighbor
Oh,
poisoned him. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And he just died on me, and he was like, I mean, he was awesome, best dog I ever had. Like, and I then Paul kind of got out of it, and it was basically the shorty bull from what I've learned. And I don't know, Jamie has her own ingredients, but it was like a staffy bull with an English and a French. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And but the dog was just built, and I didn't do nothing to it. I didn't do the fly pull. I didn't. It just naturally was ripped, tight skin like those American bulldogs, like the bully ones. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
get that super tight skin on them, like that. Like just, I'll have to send you pictures. His name was Brox. I mean, he was just a fucking awesome dog, and I had him for like 2 years, and he fucking, like I said, I think my neighbor poisoned him. Like he'd be outside when it was 100. You know what I mean?
Wow.
No questions asked, and that's kind of what stopped me, crushed my kids. You know what I mean? So that's why I didn't get into it. And at that time, I want to say shorties were going for like 25, 3K. You know what I mean? This was at the height of it. Um, they were super expensive.
Yeah.
This was right before French bulldogs took off. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Uh-huh.
And I actually had a chance to get into those. Some lady that I know that was doing oldies, she was importing French bulldogs from like Romania, and the way and Czechoslovakia, and she was like, "Dude, I paid $800 for these dogs because the 800 to theirs is like 8 grand to them." You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And I was like, "You're a fucking genius. I would have never thought about the difference in money." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
she's like, "I paid 1,200 to get this dog, bought the dog, and flown to LAX," and I'm like, "Wow." And she had like legit like dogs. They were from France originally. You know what I mean? Not the new stuff. They were more standard looking. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was nice. Super nice.
Yeah. As soon as I start to think about that, when importing, they changed they're changing the rules in August, and then of course a lot of your top French bulldog breeders kind of wised up and raised their prices quite a bit. So it was almost like you can get a really nice dog with titles and all that for the same price you can get an average dog here, but still, it's like that's a lot of rigmarole to go through.
I'm just going to LAX is a fucking pain in the ass too. Trying to pick up a dog, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I live outside of Kansas City, and it's a lot different than LAX for sure.
Yeah, so that's why even Tommy, when he shipped dogs out of the country, he's like, dude, I have to charge way more. He's like, by the time I do this and this and this, and then go to LAX and make an appointment, and blah blah blah, it's just a big headache. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which I could imagine. I don't even know how. I mean, good thing we have ground transportations here in the states now. I mean, when I would fly dogs out of this California, I'd be like, they're like, "What's the breed?" I'm like, Catahoula, and they're like, I'm like, just sign the paper and shut up. Like
yeah,
at the vet, like I just, it's fine. It's December, he'll be fine. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. I really like the shorty bull. Eventually, I'd like to get one, but for me, at this with this economy, I'm not willing to. I'm not willing to pay the overpriced prices. It's pretty inflated, if you ask me, for a dog that's probably going to come with maybe not the same kind of health issues that French and English have, but you know
Yeah,
it's a
I've been,
companion breed, and companion breeds they take a little bit more to own.
yeah, I've just been lucky enough over the years to meet people and have good relationships where it's like, if I really want something, I'll just call them. They'll be like, okay, yeah, for sure, here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's the way it was done a long time ago when I started. Like I never charged stud fees to people. I never like that. I knew like what's mine is mine and what's mine is yours type of thing. You know what
yeah, that's kind of how like. I've got 3 French bulldogs
I mean?
puppies right now, and they're all males. So I just want to use them for studs, and that was kind of the reason I wanted to do it was to get in with some people and just work on some, breeding some cool dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And people are pretty selfish these days. They don't want to work with you.
Dude, I went to a dog show in San Bernardino about 3 years ago, and it was like the worst experience of my life.
How
Like
come?
it was just bad. It was a shit show. dogs stroking out, overheating, or on dirt. I mean, loud ass music everywhere. I mean, just like a bad car show. You know what I mean? Fights, gunshots. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just a mess, bro. A mess. They basically like paid some dude to use like his farm to hold the show because no parks
Right.
would allow it. You know what I mean? I mean, it
Right.
was just it was. But I met what the reason I went down there because one of my good buddies in Palm Springs, CJ Brinha, who has Land Shark Kennels, he had one of my males, and that was kind of a halfway meeting point for us. Like, hey, we'll just go to this dog show in San Bernardino, meet up, and I'll pick up my dogs, and then I'll go home. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it was just like, wow, like to the point I showed one of my white English, and it took like second for XL male. It had no XL. It was not an XL. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, I really like some of the things that the bully world is coming up with, but it's it's a composite breed. It's not even a breed. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel so bad for some of these dogs. I'm like, imagine like just think about it, like going to one of these shows and like releasing like 10 game dogs like on the loose. It'd be like a wild. They would just kill everything in sight. Like those
yeah.
poor dogs could not protect themselves. They couldn't even run. You know what I mean? It'd be like the hyenas. Like what are they like? What's the? Because everything has a purpose and a place, and if it doesn't, nature finds its way to get rid of it. You know what I mean? That's just the world we live in. So what is their purpose?
Yeah, for me, I'm like I said, I'm a companion breed guy. I have a livestock guardian dog. He's a working dog, a different kind of working dog, but so I appreciate working dogs completely. But for me, like my temperament, my age, like my lot in life at this point, to have a land shark is not something that I really want. Um,
Mhm.
I've never really been that because I've been a busy kind of person, and lap dogs have always suited me, and English bulldogs for most of my life, right? But
But
uh,
you're smart enough to never get a Chihuahua, right?
I would. My wife said absolutely no way.
There's no
Uh,
way, dude. I've been bit by more by Chihuahuas than
yeah.
any other dog on the earth.
We had a Chihuahua poodle mix, and I absolutely loved her. She was great. But the poodle, she had a better disposition probably because the poodle blood. But um, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. That they're just insane, and I can't imagine like running them with French bulldogs. Even the French would probably kill them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen there was some nice Frenches I seen at the show too, but I mean, there was just so much going on at the show, and I was like, I can't even like, cause when I would watch the AKC shows, I'd be like, it's kind of boring, and then after I go to this one, I'm like, yeah, I think I'll lean towards that more now. You know what I mean? The more it's, I mean, it's different when you're in the ring in some Jordans and some cut off shorts and a wife beater than if you're in the ring in a suit. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's what draws me to the bully world. You know what I mean? Because of its nonconformist way, but it's so ragtag in a lot of ways and it's just seems like it's easily corruptible too. You know what I mean? There
Hmm.
isn't a lot of, and I see the AKC world the same way, but they've been at it a lot longer, so there's probably, in my opinion, probably a little more, you know, ability to get around some of a lot of the negatives if it's run right. But yeah, I don't know. I think it has a lot of potential, but everything that I hear and see, it just seems like they're just making it up as they go.
Hmm.
And
And then
and
the fees
and
to
a cou-
park, and then the fees to get in at these shows. I mean, they're based like
yeah,
travel sports. It's just a money making thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's and it, and I get why they're doing it, but they, you know, the real smart breeders are doing it for a purpose, and they're doing it so they can sell their dogs at a higher price and getting those 10, 15, $20,000 stud fees. That's why they're doing it. They're not they're doing it for a business purpose. And so when you get enthusiasts who want to show their dog, who have a nice dog, and who aren't really looking to breed, but really love the handling and the atmosphere and getting out there and showing their dog. Um, it, they get lost in the mix. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's about money, it's about business, and these these people who are have one or two dogs and they're showing them around, and it's not that's not how you sustain an activity, because you it's like if you have a kennel and you have multiple litters a year, your backbone isn't other breeders, it's pet owners and enthusiasts. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
people, you know what I mean. And but when you start charging $5,000-$10,000 for puppies, you the enthusiasts and the pet owners are not going to buy your dogs, man. And it's just a business. It's like, one business doing business with another business that tries to get money selling dreams to unsuspected, people who want to get into the business, wannabes. You know what I mean? And it's just a perpetual vicious circle, in my opinion. Like, there's no way a French bulldog should be $5,000, in my opinion. And I don't even care if you live in California, where C sections are expensive. You know what I mean? It just you don't get you just get bad owners that are doing it for money instead of doing it for the love of the breed and the love of the dogs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in reality too, is I think that's what perpetuates unhealthy English and French bulldogs, because they're not trying to suffice a pet market. They're trying to suffice a breeder market. And if you were trying to suffice a pet market, you would want a healthy dog that was going to last 12 years, a
Mm-hmm.
little bulldog, 12 years. And that means that you would want to breed to a healthier standard. But that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to maximize their profits, which, like I said, I'm a business person. I believe in making money, and even off of livestock, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be dogs, horses, cattle. I believe in it, but there should be a morality and ethic to it that I don't see in the bull breed world.
Mm. Do you think maybe it's the judging, or should do you think what do you think about like a point systems like the Borbles do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for me, I think it comes down to the breed club. They're the biggest culprit. And then
Mm-hmm.
it comes down to, yep, the judges, who are usually, you know, awarding ribbons to the handlers that they like the most, or the breeders that they're friendly with, or they do business with themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
it's just, yeah, there's just a lot of favoritism. It isn't like the dog in front of you. It's about the whole thing of, of it. Like, I don't see how a judge at a registry could actually show their dogs in that registry. You know what I mean? I like, how can that be?
Yeah, I got a funny story for you. This is probably like in 2005 maybe. I went to a dog show in LA, and a friend of mine, his dog took like fifth place, right?
Uh-huh.
And after the confirmation show or whatever, the guy who judged it came up to him and he's like, "Dude, I love your dog. I want to what's the stud fee? I want to put him to my bitch and this and that." And he's like, "It wasn't even the best dog. You gave it fifth." He's like, "Oh, don't worry about that. I just know those guys. Like, I gave them, but I want to stud to your dog." You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
just like mind blowing for me. Like you said, if they have the same dog, they shouldn't be judging. You know what I mean? Or if they have their homies or whoever their little clique in those kennels, like they should have no business handing out ribbons. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree. It's just yeah, it's
It was,
it's an interesting world. I, I, I've been kind of throwing some things out there in public, because I'm not like an expert, so I try to keep my opinions to a minimum and just try to ask questions and talk to people that know way more than I do. But I feel like I've learned enough, and now that I'm kind of entering the world a little deeper as far as having dogs that I want to use in some sort of breeding program, whatever that may be, ragtag or not. But
Well, you
one
pick
of the,
bulldogs. That's the most controversial thing to do from the get. You know what I mean?
yeah, and then I'm going to be willing to do things outside the box that, because I'm not trying to suffice a breeder market. I'm trying to just come up with cool dogs.
And I
But
think that works when you're up front. The problem is nobody was up front back in the day. As long
no,
as
yeah,
you're up front from the gate, like I don't see a problem with that. Like, hey, this is what you're getting. You're getting a English bulldog with an English bull terrier to a game dog to a French bulldog, and this is what I created, and this is the purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
yep,
okay, well, thanks for letting me know, but why? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Why hide it? And yeah, no, I agree with you. Yep, I agree with you. And one of the things what I've been saying is that I think English and French bulldogs need to open up the stud book so they can do a purpose bred outcross. For to get rid of some of the glaring issues.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, the way I see it from the outside looking in, because I don't have an English or a French, but I think it's like the bullier and the more cripple, the better, the more money. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem, and the breed clubs like the AKC stuff. And even the ABKC and all that. They're perpetrating all of this as well. Like they don't want to change because the leadership of these groups are people that are profiting off these dogs as well. So I mean, and all their stock look a certain way. So they're not going to want to turn a French bulldog to look more like a Frenchton, with a
Yeah,
longer back and longer legs and not so boned up. But that's what it needs. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it wouldn't need like you wouldn't need to do it every couple generations, maybe every 5 or 6 generations, you throw a Staffy bull and a French bulldog. You know what I mean? Some
yeah. The
some
staff is the most healthy. I mean, that dog can fix any problems. It's been around forever. You know what you get. You get a
yeah
great top line. You get a great dog. You get a
yeah
great skull head. You know what I mean? And it can just fix so many problems with so many dogs. You know what I mean?
yeah, and to me that just makes the most sense. I mean, there was a lot of good information. It's harder to find nowadays because way back in the day, I remember reading a few things about it. But there was a podcast recently in the last couple months about the Dalmatian Outcross project because many male dogs, like 1 out of 3, it was something astronomical like that, had a really bad urinary tract type like um, malfunction or disorder that was causing uh, a lot of issues in the breed. And there was a veterinarian decided that he was going to do a purpose bred outcross to a pointer, and he did it, and he it fixed the issue. It was amazing. Like it, very few dogs ended up having this disorder, this genetic disorder, and so there were several people that decided, hey, that they were going to try to do that as well, and they did it, and it was you were only getting like these dogs that looked exactly like Dalmatians and that were only like 4 or 5% pointer, and then at the point it was like 98% Dalmatian, and that genetic disorder was still away.
Oh
But
wow.
they were doing things like um, measuring the spots on the dogs and saying, "Oh, this dog is not pure, so it can't compete." So the breed club was really, really strict, and they weren't allowing these outcross dogs who were actually way healthier and didn't have
Yeah.
the incidents. So these people that had the healthy outcross dogs were trying to compete, and they just kept getting a lot of pushback from the breed club. to the point where, which is kind of funny, that the AKC stepped in and said, "Wait a minute, what they did was proper, and they did what they should have done, and they fixed the breed. You should be happy about that, and these dogs will be able to show and compete in the AKC as pure Dalmatians."
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where the AKC, who seems to leave it all up to the breed clubs, actually had to step in on this and say, "Knock it off, let it go." You know, because it was getting, like I said, it was getting so ridiculous that they were measuring the spots on the dogs. I think the spots were maybe a little bigger or smaller. I can't remember.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so it just, to me, that's the reality of the AKC show world, and now even, like, you know, you could probably say similar things to, you know, your lesser known, your minor leagues like the ABKC and stuff. They're doing the same exact kind of things, that they don't look at the bigger picture. They just want what sells, and who's putting money behind the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like seeing like I said, I had like the old dog pages and the dog world mags, and this is another thing off topic, but like I always liked the way that like the SABT it was, I think it's called, the way they do
Uh-huh.
the Borbles, their little group, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How they do the grading by percentage of your dog and all, and you get like a 82.5 or something like that, you know what I mean? Um, but I don't remember ever seeing a black Borble as long as I've been alive in a book until now. Like, how the hell did that come about?
Well,
And I
yeah,
don't want to hear this, oh, it's an old genetic thing that came up and it's always been there, like bullshit. You know what I mean? Who the hell added black bulldog to their dogs? You know what I mean?
well, it was probably what. Yeah, I don't know. Some people say it was like a little bit of Neo or Corso or something. I don't know, but yeah, uh, yeah, it's definitely an outcross. I mean, it just, and there's seems like there's just too many of them out there now to say otherwise. If it
Yeah.
was if it was
I,
really
I,
a genetic mutation, it would be like there would be a lot less running around.
hmm
I mean, it's like the fluffy Frenchie. Sure, there was long-haired bulldogs way back in the day, but who's to say it wasn't an outcross back then? But let's pretend like it was.
yeah.
Let's pretend it was a genetic mutation. Um,
Well, like they say when
okay,
the the Johnson Bulldogs are coming out fluffy because of St. Bernard, you know what I mean? They just got rid of those. Those got hard cold, basically, you know what I mean? Like, we can't continue to pass on this coat, you know what I'm saying?
right, and then well, but yeah, look at how many fluffy Frenchies are out there now. I mean, a genetic mutation is not going to overnight create
No. Is that
so
the new
many
thing
dogs.
now, the fluffy Frenchie?
What's that?
Is that the new thing? The fluffy Frenchie is the new kid on the block?
I think that's now starting to go away. I think I don't know I don't know what the flavor of the week is right now. I think everybody's starting to, like, kind of like, maybe rethink everything what they're doing, but who knows? Because nobody's buying puppies. But
Yeah, the economy is just shit for everybody. Nobody's got time to spend two
no,
thousand dollars on a dog and another 800
yeah,
to get shipped, and then you know what I mean?
it's only people like that have deep pockets that are into the dogs, that are spending money, and even then, that doesn't ring true in my eyes. It seems like just another marketing ploy. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, like you said, there's always people that were had their own secret sauce, but they weren't honest about it.
Yeah, no, that's just be honest, because now you have all these testing people can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
kind of
I
like
had
what.
one of my dogs DNA'd, and there's no database for white English. They came out like 30% American Bulldog, 20% American Pit Bull Terrier, like Border Collie. I'm like, what the hell? You know what I mean? It was all
Hmm.
over the place. Blue Carrier, and I'm like, there's no what the. So
Kerry Blue Terrier.
yeah,
Wow.
And it's like, wow. But the dogs are pretty uniform. You know what I mean? It's almost. I mean, it's not to the extent if you have a litter of Dobermans, they all look like Dobermans. But as far as bulldogs, they all look pretty much the same. You know what I mean?
Did it have any English bulldog in it?
I think it had like 8% or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I figured.
It was it was something crazy. Like it was just it was all over the place. You know what I mean? To be honest
Yeah,
with you, I
yeah,
just did it for shits and giggles. You know what I mean? Like I said,
yeah.
I know what I have and I know what they are. And to be honest, when I have litters, I don't post them. I'll have people hit me up once in a while, and I'll get rid of a dog local to a family before I send a dog to Virginia or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just being. I don't know if you want to call it like stubborn or think I'm too good, but I'm like, no, I don't think I want this person to own my dog. Or I have a job. I have a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I don't have to sell them. You know what I'm saying? I can give them all the way to family and be fine with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that a lot, and that's
And because I've been screwed over in the years past too. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I've when I was looking for my pups, I had was dealing with so much of that. There were just a lot of people were just laying so much crazy game, and I was upfront and honest about what I was looking for, and then they didn't think I was smart enough to look what was in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to listen to their sales pitch before I was going to make a decision.
Oh, all great dogmen are great salesmen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and yeah, no, I'm okay with that, but yeah, it just when you start asking certain questions and laying it out in certain ways, then you realize they're not really standing behind their blood. If you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
you know what I
It
mean?
it's funny too because I had a friend that I still talk to years ago, and I won't name names, but he's gotten people have given him a lot of dogs because the what he does with them, and like he's showed me videos of them, but he won't put them on the poke, and he'll return the dogs after like 2 years. Like, no, sorry, the dog's shit. Like, it's not what I need. Like, take him back. You know what I mean? And we're talking like breeders have been around 30 years of, oh, I have this, this, and this, and he takes one in for a year or two, and he's like, yeah, this dog doesn't even deserve to be here. Like, get it out of here. And I'm like, damn, I would never send you a dog then.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
he the ringer. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. There's different levels. Like,
And he ended up with a Mal. He imported, he was gifted a Mal that was imported from some European country. I don't know, Czechoslovakia or Romania or something. You know what I mean? And that dog checked all the boxes for what he wanted. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and those guys are like professional breeders.
Yeah, I want to say Romania. I want to say it came from Romania, and like
Yeah,
these people don't feed dogs just to feed dogs over there. You know what I mean?
no, they got a lot of good dog. I mean, sure, there no regulations and all that kind of stuff can cause issues, but that's anywhere. I mean, we got it here, so
Yeah, but I mean, even I'm talking bulldog people that've been around forever, and like standard and bully and
yeah,
oldie, and he's like, nope, take it, come pick it up. Like I'm not feeding it no more. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I think I know who you're talking about.
I
I
won't
won't,
drop names. Yeah, so
I won't say my guess.
yeah, but no,
Yeah, I think that there's levels to it, and I get a lot of working dog people that will say come up with all these like grandiose opinions. I'm like, well, let me see your dogs. Let me see you work them,
yeah,
and then you realize they don't have anything. You know what I mean? They have opinions and and fantasies. It's like, and I'm okay with that, But I'm a pet guy, and I let everybody know that. So
hmm
I don't have to like come up with any kind of crazy opinion about that stuff. But I know there's different levels. I mean, the guy that you're talking about, I mean, how many guys run their yard like that? Not very many. They're happy to they have a guy that a dog that hangs on a flirt pole and call it a working dog. Or like me, like having a livestock guardian dog. Is he really a livestock guardian? I mean, it's his breed and he ticks all the boxes for what I need, but I don't know. I'm no working dog hero, that's for sure.
Like a guy who has like catch dogs, and you buy a catch dog from this guy, and the dog doesn't catch; it actually runs away from the boar. Like,
Yeah.
hey, come get your dog. Like, sorry, it didn't do what
Yeah.
it was supposed to do, or what you told me it would do. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yep. And there's dogs that have like really good drive, but people it may not do what it might not be what you want it to do, but maybe somebody else can harness that drive and to do something else, compete in some sort of sport. So, I don't think because it doesn't catch, it should be like, not given to somebody that's actually going to try to harness some of that energy and that drive in a different way. I don't say it's a bad dog. It's just not a dog that you claim, that's going to do the job that you claim it's going to do. It's like a whippet might be a real crappy lure courser, but you get him on the dock diving arena, and it's going to be a champion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's just I think there's a lack of people that are actually getting these dogs that are want to handle them. They
Mm-hmm.
want the idea, and they're so focused on one thing that if you got a Malinois, you don't want it for a personal protection dog, then take it to a dock diving facility. Take it to do nose work with it. Do something to harness that energy and that.
It's like having a Ferrari in the garage and never going over 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Good analogy. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, people aren't really. They're more interested in the looks instead of that drive.
Yeah, and see, I'm guilty too because I have this so-called farm utility dog, and I don't have no animals. I don't have no chickens. You know what I mean? I live in the concrete jungle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that's kind of me too. I mean, I do live in a small town, but it's where I live is in the town, not outside of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much the same as you, but
But the dogs I have, they've adapted and they've served a purpose for me. They're family dogs. You know what I mean? Like I said, with the Lapahas, a kid could be riding his bike down the street and a dog sees a ribbon and he's like, "Phew, I'm gone. There's the ribbon." You know what I mean?
yeah, and that's the thing about these kinds of dogs that we I mean, exactly. You got a dog that's going to be able to adapt. You know what I mean? There's,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, Lapahas aren't as adaptable. And the older you get and the more, you got family and kids and stuff, it's probably harder to
Yeah.
harness that kind of energy.
Oh, when I was before kids in my 20s, a Lapaha was a perfect companion. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I
Great.
get it.
I'm not talking down on them. They're great dogs. People were out there
Yeah.
and you purpose for it. I mean, they could live in an apartment and be a protection type of dog. You know what I mean? And I don't care what people say, like, oh, it's only a 70, 80 pound dog. Like, if you get bit by a dog, you get bit by a dog. I don't care if the dog's 60, 70 pounds. You know what I mean? If it gets a hold of you, it's going to get a hold of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And most people, it's human nature. Most people are not wanting or aren't going to want to get bit. And so just the idea of having to get 30 some stitches in your leg or whatever like that guy did jumping your fence, it's
Yeah.
who wants to go through that, you know what I mean? So
And the thing with
that's
a
what
Lapdog, you have like a Merle dog with a glass eye going all crazy and barking. You're like, oh shit, that dog's scary as hell. You know what I mean? It's got one white eye. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, it's Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then that's the thing with these dogs. Like, deterrence is so important, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's what that's the great thing about, like, say you're white English, like shit. People see it and they're like, oh man,
yeah. I wanted, was it, maybe it was the International Old English Bulldog Association. I want to say they're the first one that allowed Merle, and then everybody else just kind of fell in line. You know what I mean? The IEOBIA or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
yeah, they're out my way. They're a couple hours from me.
I think they started allowing Merle into oldies.
Right.
They were the first, and then everybody else kind of just had, hey, we're gonna get left behind. We have to do it too. You know what I mean? And my thing was, those a lot of these oldie breeders didn't go find quality at La Paz. They just found any Merle dog and said, okay, I'm gonna breed to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
They didn't
that's
research first.
yeah. No, they didn't. On
Even
the
with
same
themselves, the
same with
X found anything they could find. Like, okay, that's Merle. Boom, go.
yeah, same with people using Catalua. They didn't look for they didn't look for
I
the
couldn't
proper
feed that.
Cataluas.
That's too much dog for me. You know what I mean?
Catalua.
Yeah, that's way too much dog for what I need. Like, I,
Oh
I wouldn't even, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. It'd go crazy. It'd probably jump my fence. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, but they look good. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. They're great dogs.
But it just wouldn't serve no purpose for me, and it'd be a waste. It'd be the Ferrari in the garage. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep. And that's kind of why I didn't go the Mastiff route. And I went with the LGD route
Hmm.
because you have to harness some of that energy that they have. LGDs, they're much more adaptable and independent.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, but
Yeah, I definitely like. I've seen a few white English bulldogs that really are interesting, and I've always liked them a little bit more because they had more of the they're more square bodied and they look more bulldog.
yeah, there's. I mean, if you Marker Ray should be on YouTube. He had a dog named Nitro that was just, I mean, super. If you ever get a hold of, or if you ever meet any Alapaha breeders, Ray Coleman used to have these DVDs, the Cattle Rustler Kennel.
Yeah,
Well, they're VHSs that he used to send out to people. Anybody that's been around dogs for long, back in the day, you used to have to get Polaroids and VHSs and wait for them shits to come in the mail before. Not like nowadays where I can send you a video and upload. You can upload it within 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So,
That's so interesting to me because back in the early '90s, I was a kid, but we I was trading hockey tapes, hockey fight tapes, and that culture just reminds me of back in the day where you had to you had to wait in the mail to get what you wanted.
yeah,
So I get that
home
culture, even though I missed it in the dog world.
running home for the mailman to see what came. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of lost its mystique now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's like just like now my wife can tell me what's coming in the mail the day before because she gets an email that shows everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right,
The whole
right.
excitement, like that. When you're a kid and you want a bike for Christmas and look at, hey, that thing looks like a bike. You know what I mean? I wonder what's fucking in there. Oh, it's a bike.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, not to talk the early CRK dogs, like those were impressive. Like, I'll try and find them, and if you ever get your hands on them, though, there's a lot of dogs in there that are like they have the white English look, or they look more like a standard American Bulldog, bigger. But there's a dog named Nitro. Marker Ray Nichols is Nitro. I mean, just an impressive dog. I mean, the way it moved like a big cat. You know what I mean? Like a puma. You know what I mean? It didn't move like a big dog. Like you see, like people with uh, what do you like bull mastiffs and the dog's running and it falls
yeah,
and trips over itself and rolls and gets up. No, this thing was like low to the ground, like a big move, like a big cat. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, wow. But I will tell you this thing: like a lot of white English people mistaking them for doggos, Argentinos, when they see me, and I'm like, no, these are a lot shorter than a doggo. You know what I mean? And what's the other one? It starts with a C, like in Brazil. Not the Brazilian bulldog. What the hell is it called? There's a white bulldog in South America that looks like a white English.
There's the Guatemalenco from
There you go.
Guatemala.
There
Yeah.
you go, right there. That one. That looks like a white English. The Spaniards and them were taking people from coast to coast. What makes you think they weren't taking their dogs with them? You know what I mean? They took pork all over the world. I'm sure they took dogs everywhere. You know what I mean? To me, that's the closest to what I've seen what looks like a white English. Yeah, that's always going to be the fight. The bully guys in Galapagos and regular American bulldogs. You know, and bully versus standard, and that's always going to be around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I like both. I mean, to
You
use
know what
something a
kills me
little.
now in all bulldog breeds is when the rear end is higher than the front end. I'm like, what? Why? Why is that
Mhm.
dog still being bred when the top line is that bad? You know what I mean? Like, why
Like,
can't you just the way you talked about the pointer? Why can't you just be like, you know what? We did an outcross to a boxer to fix our shitty top lines. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like the English bulldog with no rear angulation.
Yeah.
Why does it have to? Why? How about every 4 or 5 generations we breed an Amstaff or a Staffy bull into that thing, and you'll be amazed at the rear angulation and the way that dog moves, and it will still look like an English bulldog eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm just I don't but you have like you said you have the groups or kennels that won't allow them to register them anymore. I didn't like the I could have sworn like the American Bulldog did like a 75% rule or 80% rule years ago to like help those people, you know what I mean? Who were
Yeah,
adding different stuff to fix it.
it was the NKC, and they had the what they called the 7/8 rule, I believe.
Yeah, the 7/8 rule. There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
I actually had a guy that I had sold a dog to like 15 years ago. He actually went to England on a trip and did some coursing with those Alans. And dude, it
Uh
was
huh.
life changing for him. He was like, dude, these dogs are everything. Like, I don't even know if that's even allowed in England no more, like for rabbits and stuff like that.
They still do it. I think it's very very regulated, and you got to be in a club. But I know they still do it. I know that, and so
But he was
um,
like, dude, like he was sending me videos, and this was a long time ago. So I was having to
right.
like download the videos on my email. You know what I mean? It's like I couldn't just
Yeah.
open up Messenger. And I was like, I'm telling you, these dogs were jumping like 8 foot fences like nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're
These
so
British
impressive.
Alans or whatever. Um,
Yeah. No.
look,
Yeah.
mean.
Darren
They look like
Gallagher.
taller game dogs. You know what I mean?
Well,
From what
does.
I've heard too, because there was a big influence of Galapagos that went to England a long time
Hmm.
ago. Like they were big over there, and another guy knew that guy Darren. He said that guy Darren was like a stand up gentleman. Like you won't meet a better person on earth. He had nothing but good things to say about him as a man and a dog breeder. You know what I mean? Always helpful, always trying to help other people. You know what I mean? Like just
Uh,
solid guy.
yeah, and he's. I think he's a tradesman, but he owns his own. He owns a couple of different businesses, just from what I gather. Yeah, he is. He'll shoot you straight, even if you don't want to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Which is pretty rare these days.
I still think there is a pretty big of Galapagos in England though. They're not as bad as the Galapagos were.
Right,
To in my kennels, they had to go male, female, male, female. Like you could not put in two females next to each other. You know what I mean?
right.
Like they would wear their teeth down. Um, but I don't. If you want to get a male and a female, don't get two males and don't get two females. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's just it. You can't. I'm sure other people can, and maybe mine are dysfunctional, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody with any dog breed. You know what I mean?
yeah. Working hard to achieve their goal. Um, if it turns out, that's into the eyes of the beholder or whatever. And
Like enough good purebred dogs to do what you need to do. You know what I mean?
I've come to the realization that there's a lot of mythology in purebred dogs. Like,
Swifton's band dog, right?
hmm
Be the greatest band dog. No, there's no pedigree out there in band dogs with his dogs in there.
Mm-mm.
Once you get so many generations of the band dog, what do you have? I mean, your first breeding, okay, I take a Neapolitan or an English Mastiff and cross into American Pit Bull Terrier male, and boom, I get these badass dogs. Well, then once you start breeding those together, then you're like, hey, where did this go? You know what I mean?
And to me, what ends up happening is that instead of having a type, a style, you end up trying to lock in a look, and you're going to the same pitfalls that purebred dogs have. So I agree with what you're saying. Is like to me, a composite breed or a composite dog should always be fluid. It shouldn't to hit a certain standard. You're just going to end up creating the same kind of problems and that you're trying to move away from with purebred dogs. You're just going to create a different kind of breed that is going to come with the same set of standards, and it's not going, like you said, it's not going to always match up. But if you continually are fluid with it, and you're every few generations you're going back to a certain cross or whatever it may be, you lock in a look, and you're just going to also lock in the negative traits too. So
Yeah.
and
But,
that's
but
where I differ in a lot of people, that if you're going to have a, a crossbred program, it should always be fluid. You should always be like not afraid to color outside the lines. But once you start trying to lock in a look, to me, it ends up, instead of like focusing on the health and the structure and the temperament of what you're trying to do, then you're losing out. And that to me is like the exciting part of these composite breeds. And I appreciate people that do try to lock in that look and temperament and everything, but it's a lot of work, and you need a lot of dogs to be able to do it. Like Jamie Sweet said that she had like 54 dogs or something like that at one point to create the Shorty Bowl.
that's 50 more dogs than I would ever want.
So
But and
yeah,
it goes to say that too. So like that's my thought on band dogs. But then there's a guy, I don't know where he's at. Is American Sentinel. I mean, he think he has some of the baddest band dogs I've ever seen in their uniform. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of Sorrel's game dogs too. You know what I mean? Like that look. Like back in the day, if you saw a game dog, you could tell if it was a Sorrel's dog. You know what I mean?
and I don't know much about game dogs, even though I was around a lot. I don't know if I was around a lot of American Pit Bull Terriers, but what what is it about the Sorrels dogs? What does that look?
It's the color, just the way they look. Like this new guy Chico Lopez, you could tell his
Yeah,
dogs night and day from everybody else's. You know what I mean? I'm sure, and he used all Sorrel's dogs. Like he was the man way back in the day. You know what I mean?
so they're all kind of they were the original red type.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
Okay.
to say, and that too, Chico Lopez. I mean, I love his dogs, and he's a salesman too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I appreciate his I appreciate his program. I do. I appreciate the fact that he makes a living at it. I mean, he's selling healthy dogs, so that's what matters to me as a pet guy. But
Yeah, and you could tell him when you see one, you could tell that dog came from him. You know what I mean?
right,
Like the same people with the oldies. What's their names? The married couple. You can tell when a dog comes from them. You know what I mean?
right, right. They
Like,
have a
oh,
different.
that's from so and so's kennel. That's from so and so's. That's the way I feel about the Lindgren's dogs. Like, oh yeah, that came from him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is good. So
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. Yeah, no, I look at some of the Pitbull pages, and I see their different styles. I like that. I like that, having variety like that, and everybody was putting in their own little secret sauce.
yeah, for sure. So I met a dude years ago at my work. He was in there buying some big rubber straps, and I come outside and the dude has like a game dog ring on, and biker looking guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Goatee, Caucasian, like big old bracelets, and I'm like, what do you? And I look at him and I'm like, what do you use these for? And he's like, oh, they're straps for my bulldogs. And any game dog guy refers to his dog as bulldog. You know,
Bulldog. Yeah.
dog rolls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That dog serves. He's doing something with it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now it started clicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, he lived like in Mexico, And I was like, oh yeah, I seen Tom Gardner selling his villa in Mexico, and he's like, he ain't shit. My dogs have took all his dogs out. I'm like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said nothing. You know what I mean? Like, but he's like the face of the American Pit Bull Terrier in America. You know what I mean? Gardner Kennels, and he was like, oh, he's afraid to challenge my dog. I'm like, oh fuck, you know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah,
It,
that's a whole
it was.
different line.
He was like, I got a villa here in Mexico and here and here, and you come down to my place and I'll show you what a real bulldog is. And they don't refer to them as game dogs or American Pit Bull Terriers. They refer to them as bulldogs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh wow, yeah, this guy's not playing around. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, it was crazy. Always telling me, like a wise guy told me, like, don't look at pedigrees, look at the two dogs in front of you. Look at the mom and the dad, the sire and the dam. I don't want to hear about so and so 8 generations back. You know what I mean?
What's so interesting is I'll listen to these old pit bull guys and stuff, and that are so heavily into the pedigrees, or even back in the day, and I'll read some of the articles and stuff. And what's so interesting is all these guys talk about pedigree, and how like meticulous they were about it, but then they always have a story or two, and maybe three, where they found a dog at a swap meet and it ended up being the champion.
Yeah, you
And,
never.
and it's like you were always thinking outside the box, and you're pretending that you're this pedigree guy, but you're really just looking for that dog that's in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, unattractive people have good-looking kids all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I was just getting. That's a great example. Two negatives can equal a positive. It,
Yeah.
Consider joining our Patreon community to access exclusive content, early releases, and personalized experiences. Subscribing not only supports Sean from the Bulldog Social Club, but also connects you with a community of like-minded enthusiasts. Whether you enjoy Sean's interviews, appreciate creative processes, or desire exclusive perks, your subscription plays a crucial role. Click the link, subscribe, and be a part of this journey with us. Do you enjoy listening to audio podcasts like I do? Consider joining the Bulldog Social Club Spotify membership. For a limited time, it's only $1.99. Get early releases and personalized experiences. Subscribing not only supports Sean from the Bulldog Social Club, but also connects you with a community of like-minded enthusiasts. Whether you enjoy Sean's interviews, appreciate creative processes, or desire exclusive perks, your subscription plays a crucial role. Click the link, subscribe, and be a part of this journey with us.